Welcome back to the Food on Demand podcast, where we dish up insights on the future of food relating to off-premises operations and the overall digital dining experience. I'm Bernadette Heyer, Managing Editor.
And I'm Hans Zimmerman, Food Service and Technology Reporter. And we've got another great podcast for you today, hosted here in Dallas at the Food on Demand Conference 2026.
Yes, we're super excited to be filming on site with our guest today, Harrison Shih, Senior Director at DoorDash Labs. Thank you for joining us today.
Super excited to be here. Thank you.
Well, Harrison just got off a panel that he was on titled Automating Away Friction in Restaurant Operations. So I definitely want to dive into some questions for you on that. But first, Harrison, can you let us know a bit about your background, your current role, and what you oversee at DoorDash Labs?
So yeah, I joined DoorDash about 8.5 years ago to start this group called DoorDash Labs, which is our robotics and automation arm. Been kind of obsessed with the local commerce and automation space for the last decade, working on a sidewalk robot previously, and then now at DoorDash getting to build some really fun tech like Dot, which is our delivery robot, Smart Scale, which makes restaurants more efficient, as well as the autonomous delivery platform that enables things like drone delivery or self-driving cars to bring things to your house as well. And honestly, from my perspective, I'm just a lover of this product, someone that loves my local community and wants to make everything more efficient, more connected.
And as someone who loves seeing, the delivery robots riding by on the sidewalk, I like to say thanks, after they drop off the delivery. I'd love to hear a little bit more about Dot and how it fits into the broader autonomy roadmap and, why DoorDash chose to build it internally, in-house, and where you see the value in partnering versus owning the tech stack.
Yeah, DoorDash has looked at automation as a required thing as part of logistics from the beginning. A lot of it was waiting for the technology to be ready. But when we started the group, we did look around. It wasn't, let's build a robot because that would be cool. It was that there wasn't a thing that existed in the world that solved our use case, right? There were self-driving cars, and there were sidewalk robots, which were great. But there was this kind of missing thread in the middle of being able to connect longer distance orders with maybe larger cargo. And so we looked at something that was great for delivery, which would be like an e-bike type profile that can connect your 3 to 5 mile delivery. Maybe it doesn't go 10 miles, but it's also a little longer range than maybe the 1 mile that a sidewalk robot will do for you. And so we really started at first principles and said, what should a delivery robot for DoorDash look like? And then built it from the ground up. And one of the guiding principles that we had, honestly, the only guiding principle Stanley, one of our co-founders, gave me was make it super cute. And when you look at all the amazing tech that goes in there, we honestly from the beginning thought of that as maybe the most important point. Just like your Dasher is part of your community, goes to your favorite restaurants, meets you at your door, our robots are going to be roaming around your favorite restaurants, around your neighborhood, on your bike lanes, your sidewalk, your porch. And so it's really important for us that it would be a part of the community in the same way. And hoping that everyone finds it super cute. And I'm glad you find these things delightful, but that's something that's been really important to us from the beginning.
Well, I'm glad you brought up that cuteness aspect because that's something I was hoping to ask about. Dot is objectively cute. It's got like an egg-shaped kind of head type thing. And then also it's got the eyes that react to the sounds around it. And they even blink and wink to my understanding. So can you tell me about the importance of that and the thought behind all of those little cute aspects of Dot?
Yeah, we actually call the design the Nom Nom design internally. It's a fun concept because it kind of eats your food. That was the kind of original thesis, not just of Dot. I think everything needs to integrate really well. When we talk about what automation really is today, I think people think about the technology the most, right? There's a LiDAR on that thing, there's cameras doing perception, there's computers doing planning and navigation, and all of that's really important, but there's a lot of that type of technology out there. How does it actually bring you food, right? And we thought about these things. We knew that fundamentally not every 2 pounds of burritos would need a 2-ton car to bring it across town necessarily. And so what could a thing do that would be more efficient, more sustainable inside of our ecosystem? And a lot of these thoughts on how it interacts with your kids, right? We're doing drone delivery now as well. And I think I mentioned my 6-year-old has now gotten drone delivery on 4 separate continents, 3 of them through a DoorDash provider. And it's just so exciting to see what that does to them, right? Sure, it's ice cream from the air. It's not always ice cream, but this is something that really brings delight to people. And exactly like getting ice cream delivered to you with a Dasher is also delightful. You didn't have to go out. The convenience is amazing. Also, the automation of that, right? The fact that it can fly overhead, the fact that a cute little robot can bring it to you, isn't just a novelty, right? It's going to be an ingrained part of our logistics system and bring all these different modalities to you to give customers more choice.
And I want to talk a bit about these technologies integrating with the marketplace and how autonomous vehicles and robots are being integrated as a fulfillment layer within DoorDash's current ecosystem, and what how that doesn't necessarily require new behaviors from the restaurant's end.
Yeah, I mean, it may require some new
Right.
behaviors. What we built from the beginning, so we built the robot almost from day one. We saw a gap in the market, something we had to do. Simultaneously, we built the autonomous delivery platform as well. Not just a robotics team, also a logistics team. To your point, this is really a fulfillment problem more than it is a self-driving navigation problem. Something I always say is if you fully self-driving autonomous flight, 100%, maybe you solve 40% of a delivery. Today, our Dashers spend less than half their time in transit. There's so much more that a Dasher does to get you your order. I think everyone's probably ordered delivery before. There's 600,000 different interfaces they have to go in to grab your package. There's probably millions of different interfaces of steps and doors, etc. And this handoff from both sides adds a pretty big dimension to autonomy. And so the autonomous delivery platform has been our kind of solution to that. The Smart Scale was actually developed for this reason, to help connect restaurants with drone delivery. Right? It's kind of hard to know exactly what will fit in a drone. It's kind of hard to know exactly when the drone is ready. And so our Smart Scale was our indicator for that. We know when the food is ready, we know how much it weighs, and it can go be loaded onto a drone. It just turns out that it's wildly useful to have technology like that within the store. But removing friction points have been really important to us, knowing that introducing new technologies will add complexities to operations. A lot of our effort at DoorDash Labs, beyond the technology, is the integration and the friction reduction of all these things.
Well, I had the opportunity to actually see Dot in person as well as Smart Scale. I got to try it at the DoorDash headquarters. And it really is, fascinating how, simple little moments like that to reduce the friction, but also to the end consumer, I can attest that missing a sauce, it really matters. So just those type of things to help streamline that experience for operators is exciting to see.
Yeah, I'm glad you got to see that. And it's really fun. These are things that we use every day. And a big part of why we build technologies like this is because we're really, really closely attached to that side of our marketplace. I think every member of my team has probably been locked in a drive-through window after midnight to see what that friction and the challenges of that operation are. When we build technologies, we think about the hardest parts of operating a restaurant.
And automation, it solves a lot of headaches, both for consumers and restaurants. Everything from weather to the different day parts, because the robots will be available and not necessarily sleeping at 1 a.m. What is an important and perhaps often under-discussed headache or issue that autonomous delivery solves?
It's multimodality at the end of the day. And it's a fancy word for saying sometimes it's better to take a road, sometimes it's better to take a sidewalk or a bike lane, and sometimes it's great to ditch the roads and fly overhead. I mean, there have been two circumstances, I believe, in Australia in which massive flooding shut down our Dasher network. It wasn't safe to drive on the roads, but wing drones could still fly. And so we were able to deliver food overhead and avoid the puddles, right? Bigger than puddles. But that's kind of the magic of autonomy. Again, it's not the really cool technology that we built. It's the opportunity to better service our marketplace during times where a single modality would be limited. There have been multiple moments like this morning with lightning in the air. We had to ground most of our drones that were flying in Dallas, but our Dashers were able to continue to deliver food and give you access. And so when you look at a marketplace, it's really easy to isolate it as what is the best way to deliver things, period. And I don't think that exists. I think there are better modes for different circumstances. And what DoorDash is trying to expand into with autonomy, robots, drones, etc., is the ability to better service you where you are when you need it.
Well, as mentioned, you just got off a panel titled Automating Away Friction in Restaurant Operations. Can you share a few key takeaways or some things that you found important or interesting during that session?
It was an incredible group. We had a restaurant operator, we had a service provider in Ghost Kitchens, and then DoorDash Labs there. And I think the most interesting thing is just how do you know what's real or not? Right? There's so much technology that's out there. We heard from Tony, who's a restaurant, one of the leading pizza operators out there, and we got to hear his story about how he almost got fired, kind of betting on the wrong technology or the wrong approach to edge technology. And that was, I think, a big topic that was asked is so often new technologies seem to add friction, right? Title of the panel being automating away friction in restaurants, but a lot of technology seems to add it. And I think that's something that we see repeatedly as well. And a lot of that is because one thing we see is that there's a good amount of technology being made as a solution in search of a problem, as opposed to identifying and understanding the friction points of restaurants and building technologies to actually solve that. And so that's been an approach that I think all of us aligned on the panel, but has been a driving principle of DoorDash Labs from the beginning is it's not about the technology, it's about the problem you're solving. I think SmartScale is one of the proudest products that we've built for that reason is it's kind of hard to deny the win-win-win of that, right? There's a very real problem that can't just be solved by software. We needed a piece of hardware in there to help smooth over kind of the missing and the quality impact of delivery.
Another one of those problems that can't necessarily be solved by software or necessarily even hardware is the misconceptions that consumers may have around autonomous delivery. What are some common ones that you've been hearing recently?
Well, I think the thing I closed on the last panel on too is that I think people still think it's a science experiment, right? That it's something that's super far away. And to be frank, it is not available to everyone today yet. But I genuinely believe that we've hit that corner. It's been incredibly fun bringing drone delivery to Charlotte and to Atlanta recently. And I think the scale will take a little bit of time, but we're no longer in the can the technology work, right? Drones can fly your packages safely, right? We're not in the can a car or a robot drive across town for you autonomously. It can. And again, I think for years there's been this promise of one more year and the technology will be ready. I genuinely believe that the technology is at that point now. And the friction point is not the technology anymore, it's the integration. And so I think a misconception of autonomous delivery widely is the technology still has a decade before it can see the dog running across the street or before it can reliably fly. I think regulations will get there. I think technology will get there. I think with delivery in particular, the handoffs will be challenging. And that's where DoorDash Labs sends a lot of our investment in technology actually, is how do we make the operator's life worthwhile, right? How do we make it so that it's a consistent experience for them? How do we make the handoff enjoyable for them as opposed to kind of a nuisance? And largely, I would say the reason why we're not scaling faster right now with relatively mature technology is that the handoff and the friction points haven't been fully solved yet.
Looking at how the rate of adoption is going and what's happening with the autonomous industry, where do you see delivery in the next 5 years even? I think the conversation shifts so much every year, but interesting if you have an opinion.
It will be multimodal. I'm so convicted on this. I think we're already seeing the scale of sidewalk robots and DOT and self-driving cars starting to integrate into our network. I think this promise of drone delivery is genuinely one of the most exciting things I've seen in the market. We're talking about verticalizing the last mile. Today, you get to sit on a surface area of a 2D plane where every car has to sit behind a different car. And next time you walk outside, just look in the air 400 feet up, it's empty. This is fully unused infrastructure that exists and is ready for us to use today. And I think that is a big part of what the future of delivery will look like, is that we'll utilize all of that infrastructure. And what that means is that what we see already is this kind of unlimited demand in connecting with local communities. It's just not tenable, right? We've had, I think, like 3% of the US population drove for us last year. There's so many use cases we can't service, right? This morning, I definitely needed a quick delivery of a latte. And it wasn't a use case. I didn't have that much time, right? But imagine if I could have, and I would have at that time, pressed a button and a drone would show up with my drink within 5 or 7 minutes. I think that's what the future will look like. And I think we'll see drones buzzing overhead here in Dallas, across the country, in Europe. And we're going to have a lot more density of the ability for you to access your local communities than you have today. But I also said in the last panel, I hope it looks a lot like we see today too. Even though the technology will feel different in this specific modality, the overall concept of I'm connected to my community, I get my favorite restaurant, I can get the medicine I need at the right moment, all of that will just feel more of, right? But I think DoorDash really has unlocked this ability for you to feel closer with your neighborhood in the US more than ever before.
And beyond feeling, closer in the neighborhood and in these cities, I live about an hour out, from the closest city that I live to in Minneapolis, big city. And so rural delivery is definitely an issue and that has very obvious complications, especially today. So how is DoorDash approaching solving that rural delivery issue?
It's our bread and butter, actually. DoorDash was not a business that focused on big cities, right? It was a suburban market for us in the beginning, right? We started in Palo Alto, and Palo Alto is still the archetype of probably the ideal delivery city for us. I think when we think about delivery, I think people think super dense cities and like the bodega down the street getting you something. It really is, a family with 2 kids that don't have time to go out and eat or really want to enjoy their favorite restaurant, but don't have time to drive over there. And so I think when you talk about more rural deliveries, that's where automation can take that step even further, right? Dense suburban, very obvious, good amount of drivers. We can get you your food, lots of restaurant concentration in alley. But in rural environments, I think that gets a little harder, right? Where are the drivers and who can bring you the thing exactly when you need it? And I think that's an area where we can have, let's say, drones, which can reposition basically for free, right? So different times of the day, it can be somewhere else and help service you at home when you're at home or at the office when you're at the office. We can move around our supply and our ability to fulfill orders much more easily. I think we can park robots or self-driving cars in the right neighborhoods that are available for you when you need them. It just increases kind of the footprint of our ability to grow demand for our merchants and increase access for our customers across the board.
Well, I'm excited to see this continue to ramp up. Like I said, we're in Dallas, and it's a big part of DFW area is drone delivery right now. So yeah, excited to follow this journey. But thank you so much, Harrison. Before we let you go, we like to do a fun segment called "Did You Leave Room for Dessert?" where we ask us a few fun questions to get to know you better. So I'm gonna let Hans kick this one off.
Okay, I've got some fun ones. I've been working on these for you. So as technology progresses at an increasingly rapid pace, do you think that the robot dance, is that an inappropriately and perhaps outdated name, and dance?
Absolutely not. It should be part of our vernacular. I think they should be among us and they should dance just like everyone else.
Well, speaking of that, we know you have a close relationship with Dot, but who is your favorite fictional robot? If we had to think about Wally or R2D2.
That's a great question. I mean, it has to be Dot. You guys know, I've had 3 babies while at DoorDash, and Dot would be my 4th for sure. But yeah, I think it's probably Wally. I love that story a lot, and fantastic robot, great heart.
Yeah, that Wally probably has the highest tears to actually words in a movie ratio of any film I'm aware of. So
Yeah.
it's hard to beat that.
Emotionally pretty inspirational to how we designed Dot as well. We wanted something that was friendly. I don't know if you got to be up close to it. It also kind of makes sounds. It can talk if it needs to, but mostly we make sounds similar to the Wally. We wanted to be able to denote kind of what it needs, the eyes there. A lot of that was built after that kind of profile of a robot.
There's a little bit of Eve in there too, now that I'm thinking about it. And then I told you earlier that I like to say thank you when a delivery robot, it drops off my meal. And it just comes naturally. Do you personally say please and thank you and that type of language to AI chatbots and other technology?
Absolutely. It's one of my biggest fears that my kids will grow up thinking you can just ask for things and not say thank you. And so we enforce that in our household too. If you ask Alexa something, you have to say thank you and please as well. So I hope that becomes a standard among society.
That's fascinating because I don't necessarily say thank you to my washing machine after it's done, but whenever it's AI, it kind of has more of that human aspect to it, huh?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, you've answered all of our questions today. Is there anything else that you'd like to make sure to let us know or touch on before we let you go today?
Yeah, I'm just so excited about the future in this space. It's the reason I got into the space is my obsession with my local community. I'm lucky to have my favorite restaurants nearby to me, and this is the future I think we want to create, where everyone gets to enjoy their local businesses. Every local business can access more customers, that the whole network becomes more efficient, and we can make a sustainable path of kind of enjoying convenience whenever we want.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Harrison. We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.